Hi, I'm Rachel Anthony. Welcome back to Rachel Anthony Writes, where I share all things writing and publishing. For those of you who are new here, I am a debut published author. Published my first novel, A Time for Us, earlier this year. And I am currently writing and editing my second novel, the sequel to A Time for Us. And I like to come on and share some of my experiences with this audience in the hopes that it can help you. And in turn, I would love to hear about your experiences down in the comments. And I am always open for more help on my end. I don't know everything by far. So any little tidbits you have to share, please put them down in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. So today I want to talk about printing and distribution. I want to focus specifically on going with Amazon solely, also known as KDP, versus going more widely distributed through Ingram, for example. I will give you the pros and cons as I know them based on my personal experience and research that I've done. And I will tell you about what I did to publish my first novel and the pros and cons that I found there, and what I'm planning on doing going forward with publishing future novels. First, let's talk about the difference between printers and distributors. So you can have your book printed and distributed through one source or multiple sources. So printing is actually getting the physical copy of your book printed, and distributed means getting the book, that printed book, or even your digital book, your ebook, into the hands of your readers. Because there's now print on demand, there's no need for authors to have a backstock of books, in their office or in their garage. When readers want to read your books, they can click on whatever online source they want and order their books. The book is printed as they order them and distributed to your audience. So, and I am speaking specifically from a self-published indie author perspective. But I will touch on bookstores as well as we continue this discussion. There are many ways you can distribute your book. As I've already mentioned, Amazon. And through Amazon, they have their own print on demand and distribution channels. So if you want to have your readers go on Amazon and order your book, it's all contained right there. But Amazon only distributes to customers who go onto their website and click on the book on Amazon and purchase it there. If you're more widely distributed, you can have your book on many different websites like Barnes & Noble's, Kobo, with library sites. Almost everywhere you can buy an online book, you can have your book widely distributed. Typically, when you want to do that, you will go through an aggregated distributor like Ingram. Ingram is a print-on-demand company as well as a distributor. So what they would do is actually print your books if your readers order a paper book, a physical copy of your book, and then they will distribute it to that reader. The thing is, the reader doesn't have to go on the Ingram site to get Ingram to print or distribute. They can go on the Barnes & Noble site, they can go on the Kobo site, they can go on the Books A Million site. Wherever they go to click to order your book, Ingram is the company that will print and then distribute the book to the reader that ordered it. So there are definitely pros and cons to both going exclusively on Amazon versus being more widely distributed. So let's talk about those pros and cons, starting with Amazon. I will start with the biggest elephant in the room when it comes to Amazon. They are the book giant. They have the biggest reader audience in the world, quite frankly. So if you want to get your book in front of as many readers as possible, Amazon is the way to go. But that doesn't mean you have to go exclusively Amazon, and I'll talk about that more in depth in a minute. KDP, which is the back end of Amazon for printing and distributing books. The interface, the dashboard, is pretty simple for indie authors like us to navigate. It has fast royalty payments, simple to create your paperbacks and ebooks on their site. You can do Amazon ads, and it's really easy to make updates to your book. So if you find a typo, you can always just, re-upload your EPUB and make that change. You want to change your cover, it's really simple to make those changes right there on the dashboard. So from an ease of use for the author, it is definitely, I would say, easier than Ingram Spark. There are some cons to going exclusively with KDP/Amazon. Readers outside of Amazon won't find your book. There are readers out there that, because Amazon is such a huge conglomerate, when it comes to the book space, there are people who feel like it's a monopoly, and it kind of is. And for that reason, people don't buy books from Amazon. So if you want your readers, if you want those types of readers, then they will not find your book outside of Amazon. Some bookstores, specifically some indie bookstores, will not order your book off of Amazon. Even if your book is published on Amazon and through Amazon, specifically, if you're published exclusively through Amazon and you reach out to an independent bookstore to carry your book on the shelf, even if you are supplying the book to them, they won't carry your book. I have found that. I was shocked by the number of bookstores with that stipulation. Independent bookstores are very anti-monopoly, and they do not want to have anything to do with Amazon, and I can understand why. So keep that in mind as well. Even if they're not directly buying your book from Amazon, even if you are exclusively published through Amazon, they will not touch your book. Libraries have limited access to books published through Amazon, through KDP. I think the biggest con is the fact that you're putting your eggs all in one basket. And I have heard some horror stories about KDP suspending authors' accounts without explanation. Usually something to do with a keyword. Even if their book had been out there for years and their KDP's policy changed around some keywords, and your book has that keyword, they will stop selling that book. And if you don't make the change, they will suspend your author account. So that is just a lot of reliability on one source to sell your book. So if I were to say the biggest con, it would be that. Another thing is going exclusively on KDP Amazon. That means you cannot sell your book anywhere else. If you choose that exclusivity option on KDP, you cannot sell your book on your own websites. You cannot sell it in independent bookstores. It has to be sold exclusively on Amazon. There are benefits to being exclusively, to having that exclusivity on Amazon, even though you can't sell your book anywhere else. And that is, you get your book on Kindle Unlimited. So people with a Kindle Unlimited membership can read your books for free. Well, not for free, but under their membership. And you get paid for the page reads that readers do on Kindle Unlimited. You have access to Amazon ads, promotional pricing, free book days. So there are ways that going exclusively on Amazon is beneficial. And I want to be clear. You can opt as an author to only sell your books on Amazon without checking that exclusivity clause on KDP. There is a difference. You choosing to only go Amazon, but one day you decide you want to spin up your own website and then sell your books through your own website, you can do that. As long as you have not checked that you want to exclusively distribute through KDP, you're fine to do that. But once you check that box that you are exclusively on Amazon, on KDP, you cannot distribute anywhere else in any type of way. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Now let's talk about wide distribution. And full transparency, this is the option I took. So I went through, I will say my hybrid publisher went through Ingram Spark to widely publish my debut novel, A Time for Us. And what that means is that in addition to being on Amazon, I am also on every other online book outlet. So Ingram Spark distributes to over 44,000 outlets, including retailers and libraries. So if you want to get your book in front of as many readers as possible, I would advise to go through a wider distribution. The downside to this from an Amazon perspective is that you're not going through them exclusively. That means your royalties on Amazon are going to be very low. And Ingram Spark also takes a pretty good chunk of your royalties as well. So just keep that in mind. Also, bookstores. You have the option of having bookstores order directly through Ingram Spark. Big retailers like Books A Million and Barnes & Noble, they will actually purchase your book at a wholesale price from Ingram Spark, and you as the author get to set your wholesale price. They also have the option to return books if individual readers as well as bookstores. If your book doesn't sell within a certain amount of time, they will return your book to Ingram Spark at a loss for you as the author, but you do have that option. So that makes it easier for bookstores to have that flexibility. They will be more willing to put your book on the shelf if they know that they're not going to be out of pocket for spending money on a book that they can't sell. So that is definitely another pro to going through a wider distribution channel like an Ingram Spark. Through wider distribution, you also have the option to sell on your own website, which I do as well. I have different perks for readers who want to opt to purchase my book on my website. They get a signed copy, they get merch along with it, and as well as a lower price because I'm not having to split my royalties with a distributor. I get to keep all the royalties after the printing cost. I do have to buy the books myself from a printer like an Amazon or an Ingram Spark. Barnes & Noble also has a Barnes & Noble Press. A little secret is that Barnes & Noble Press uses Ingram Spark to print their books, but it's a different pricing. So from a quality perspective and from a pricing perspective and from a quick delivery perspective, I ordered books from both Amazon, Barnes & Noble Press, and Ingram Spark to see what the cost difference would be, what the quality difference would be, and how quickly I could get them. And I found that Ingram Spark was better on price, great on quality, and got the books to me quicker. So going forward, as I order my own author copies, I order directly from Ingram Spark. That is another benefit of going wide distribution. You can encourage people to order directly from you, and you don't have to split royalties with a distributor. The cons, besides the royalty splitting, with wider distribution, and I am speaking specifically about Ingram Spark, The interface, the author interface to set up your book, to order your book, to make changes to your book is a little bit more complicated than the KDP site. So for those who are not as internet or online forum savvy, Ingram Spark may be a challenge for you. It may take you a couple of rounds to actually get what you need from the setup and printing of your book. Managing the different royalty reports. If you have your book on Amazon and on Ingram Spark, you're having to pull reports and royalties from two different sources, and that can get a little complicated and kludgy and confusing, and but you have to decide if that bit of complication is worth it for you. So those are the main differences between going through Amazon only, going through Amazon exclusively, and then going wide distribution. Let me tell you what I did for my debut novel, and I'll share with you what my plan is going forward for my second book and then my books going forward. For my debut novel, I knew nothing about the publishing process at all, and I didn't want to chance getting it wrong. So I went through a hybrid publisher. And with going through a hybrid publisher, I got to learn the process by working with them. And that gave me a wealth of knowledge. I understand now how to set up my own KDP, how to set up keywords, how to manage my blurbs, how to manage my cover. All of those things I learned because I had a professional working the process, and I learned from them. It cost me a pretty penny. I'm grateful that I had the resources to pay for it, but I will not be using them again. Not because they did a bad job or anything like that. It's only because I'd rather do it myself. I'm a type A personality. I like to have control. So going forward, I will have that control. I went through wide distribution through my hybrid publisher. So what my hybrid publisher did is they went only through Ingram Spark, but through Ingram Spark, you can also distribute through Amazon. So your book can also be on the Amazon site through Ingram Spark. I don't like the fact that they did it that way because they are definitely cutting into my royalty profits, because Ingram Spark is going to take their share of the royalty and Amazon's still going to take their share of the royalty. So you're getting so screwed, pardon my language, when you do it that way. Going forward, when I'm in control of this process, I will go through I will go through Amazon separately, set up my book there as non-exclusive on Amazon, and then I will have a separate site to be more widely distributed through Ingram Spark. That is what I did for my publishing of my first novel. I mentioned this in another video. The other downside of going through my hybrid publisher is that they own all of the ISBNs for my books. And if I wanted author copies with that ISBN, I had to order it through my hybrid publisher, and they doubled the printing price to me. So what I ended up doing in order to get reasonably priced author copies is I created my own ISBN, bought my own ISBN, and then used that to print on Ingram Spark and have those copies sent directly to me. It was half the price that my hybrid publisher was going to charge me to do that. So another downside about going through a hybrid publisher. They need to make money. I don't fault them, but yeah, that was an expense that I don't need. For those of you who don't know, I have launched my own publishing company. It's called Infinite Serenity Publishing. And I will be republishing my debut novel, A Time for Us, on my own imprint, while also publishing the sequel to A Time for Us on my own publishing imprint. And that will give me the opportunity to ride this process from beginning to end on my own books. The goal is, after I publish my 2 books on my own imprint and feel comfortable in doing that process for others, I will be taking on other authors who are interested in publishing on my imprint. So if you are interested, let me know in the comments. I will start doing that probably this time next year, after I'm done printing and distributing my second novel. So I am sure I have so many more lessons to learn in this process once I am doing it hands-on from beginning to end myself. And as I am learning those lessons, I will definitely come back to share them with you. So what's the takeaway from this video? There are 2 very different ways to print and distribute your book. Is there a right way and a wrong way? Absolutely not. You have to decide for yourself what is best for you. I would say KDP is probably best if you want to be more hands-off, only publishing maybe 1 book, maybe 1 book every few years. That will probably be the best way for you to go. If you are planning on establishing yourself as an author and publishing many books, I would say get your book in front of more readers, not just the people that are on Amazon, even though that is a huge audience. Make sure you're opening yourself up to get yourself in front of as wide of an audience as you can. And that includes bookstores and libraries and selling on your own website, on your own, whether it's on Shopify or somewhere where you can be directly engaged with your readers. That way you are not under the thumb of KDP if they want to shut down your author account. You don't have to risk that. So I would always advocate to not put all of your eggs in one basket, but if it's going to make your life simple and you feel like that's the best option for you, go for it. I highly advocate do what's best for you. For me, this is not a 1 book deal for me. I plan on making writing my career, my second career, because I am on the tail end of my corporate career. I have established my end date there. And once I am completely out of corporate America, in this sense, I will still be in corporate America, but it will be established under my own corporation, under Infinite Serenity Publishing. And that is where I plan to be until I take my last breath. I don't necessarily think I will ever retire because I love doing this so much. And when you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life. So that is my plan going forward. So why distribution for me? Do what's best for you. Please put your questions in the comments in case I haven't covered something or I've made something confusing. I'm happy to answer any of your questions down in the comments. And I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who you think may find the content interesting as well. As a reminder, I also have another channel, Rachel Anthony Living, where it's everything behind the scenes of fitness, meals, life in general. So come back next week. I have a really good video planned for next week. Should I tease it? I will. I am updating my office, my home office, with some new office furniture. So I will show you around my office in my next video. So you won't want to miss that. Come back and I will see you then. Bye.